have known forever that music is really therapeutic, and but the difference of it becoming a profession starts actually after World War II, when veterans came home and they were in hospitals, their physical wounds healed, and just like today we are learning more about PTSD and things, just same back then they didn't have a terminology for it. Their emotional wounds weren't healing. So they were staying in the hospitals even though they were physically better. Nursing staff started using art and music both to try to help rehabilitate, lift their spirits, quality of life, elevate mood, all those kinds of things, and they saw the patients getting better. And so, you know, fast forward 5 or 6 years, it became a clinical profession as a degree program in the early 1950s. So music we connect to on several different levels. Firstly, as we hear it, it goes into our brain. There's lots of neurological processes that happen, and I want to state that when people say, I'm not musical, I can't sing along with you, I'm not musical, it's not one part of your brain. We don't have one little piece in our brain that's designated to music. It's called a global process, meaning if you were hooked up to a machine scanning your brain and you start singing, several areas of your brain light up. So your language center, your motor center, your memory center is the first one. There are so many areas of the brain reconnecting to make music, and then even when you're just listening, your memory centers really light up in that way too. The emotional part is what happened in those memories. You know, was it your first kiss? And you're remembering all of those, you know, your synapses are reconnecting a bit, remembering that, but it's being prompted by a sensory, you know, stimulation, sound. It's saying, oh yeah, I remember this song, and you have all that flood of emotion again. As far as the body, the reason why the body entrains or actually calms with slow music or gets pumped up with fast music, that's why we use fast music to exercise, it actually entrains your body to get going, is also a neurologic process. And you'll see even if somebody's walking down the street and they hear somebody's car stereo going, they'll start walking in time with the music. Our bodies just naturally do that because our brains naturally connect with music. It's organized, it's something that we can relate to. The education for music therapy is 60% music and music therapy classes. The other 40% are behavioral health classes. So what that would look like would be, it's basically like almost like a psych minor. So lots of psychology classes, developmental, abnormal psych classes. I took the same anatomy and physiology classes as pre-med students. Lots of learning how the brain works, learning how the body works, so that we can use music to address those kinds of things. But then the music side is a lot of the classes music teachers and music performers take. So composition, arranging, songwriting. You have to be proficient at keyboard, piano, hand percussion, guitar, and voice, and be able to pass at a proficiency level. So all of those music classes on top of the clinical work, learning why music therapy works and how to use it with different populations.
Bedside care with hospice patients over the last decade plus actually introduced me to what music therapy was, and in a former position we used music therapists, so I saw firsthand the impact that they have on patients. These are highly trained individuals, and I was shocked at what I saw happen with patients. Noelle is one of those highly trained individuals, and she knew that anybody servicing hospice patients only improved the quality of their care if they had available music therapy. A trained music therapist, what Noelle can give them is something more than putting a CD on or turning music on the radio, or even having friends come because they're musicians and have live music. What Noelle is able to do is really personalize and individualize for families and patients. I look forward to a day when insurance companies and Medicare and Medi-Cal recognize that music therapy is as valuable a service to patients as physical therapy is, or speech therapy, or many of the treatments that people receive, especially at end of life. I'm looking forward to using Noelle more and more in the organization. I want her to see more of our patients. I am looking forward to her involvement in other levels of services that we provide to patients, including our bereavement and grief groups. So I'm really honored that she's working with us, and I know that even though it's not a reimbursable service, this organization will continue to use Noelle more and more and more, because it's about what we're doing for increasing the quality of lives and what's left of our patients' lives.
So the type of music that we use, if the patient is in pain, has terminal restlessness, any kind of distress, I'm going to take the music, and it's called the ISO principle, where I match that's why we use live music as opposed to recorded music. We can alter it, the volume, the tempo, the dynamics, anything. So I'll match the patient. If they're in terminal restlessness, pulling out their clothes, doing that kind of thing, they're not even really conscious anymore of what's going on. I'll match their fast movements, but then I'll gently slow down the tempo, and you can actually watch entrainment happen, meaning you watch their non-purposeful movements calm. You can watch their breathing rate start to slow and calm. When I have patients in the ICU, you can actually watch their blood pressure and their heart rate, their respiratory rate all mellow, their oxygen saturation bumps up, so they just become more calm. But I have to meet them where they're at first and then slow it down. For patients that have physical symptoms that really want to maintain their independence, our younger patients that I don't want all these people coming and going, if I can go for one visit, or especially if they don't want to, if they're more holistic, natural, they don't want to take a lot of drugs. If I can go in and teach them a music-guided meditation, give them some resources they can do, we can record them, they can have them individualized, they can do on their own time when I'm not there. I just need one visit in, to get in there and let's give you all the resources you need. Build playlists, that is going to be great for when you need to do deep breathing. This one is to motivate you to get out of bed in the morning. This is your guided relaxation to help you go to sleep. If we can get them all those resources, that'll be a really good palliative, for their palliating for their symptoms of nausea, pain, anxiety, whatever they're needing at that time. As far as just play happy music, we start that way, but this is where it's very different between musical volunteers and music therapists. I have trained musical volunteers before. If they come in and they're going to play for somebody who's sad, and they say, I know how to play You Are My Sunshine, is that okay, from an 85-year-old lady? You start playing You Are My Sunshine and the patient still cries. It's a happy song, but if it brings up a memory or something, a volunteer typically doesn't know what to do. Whereas somebody that has extensive training in counseling, such as a music therapist, can know what to do with that and not say, oh, I'm sorry, let's go to the next song and shut it down, or we can actually open that up and say, what does this bring up for you today? The gift of the music therapist is to be able to hold the space and then help them work through that, lean into the grief, and know how to bring them back out of it, using music slowly to pull them out of that so we can leave them in a calm state when we leave. Everybody loves music, everybody connects with music in a different way, so we go off of that. That's usually what will be able to get me into the room more than, per se, sometimes if I'm just a stranger coming in saying I want to talk to you about your feelings or your stay with hospice, they maybe aren't ready for that. But if I'm coming in with a guitar, they recognize that and they want me to come in and do their favorite songs, and through that the rapport is built. A session typically will be me coming in, introducing myself, asking how they are, their pain, their anxiety, what's been going on today, just to give me a better idea. And then what kind of music do you like? We'll do a few warm-up songs with that, whether it's recorded but usually live. And that's when the questions start, and I'll say, if the goal is to get the family on the same page, I'll start with, tell me about your family. Like, who is who in this room, and how do you connect? And we might do a family songwriting of, tell me what this family does well. What do you do for fun? How do you connect with each other? How do you show each other you love each other? And we'll put that into a song, so we're feeling confident, we're feeling good at that point, and then I can, go into that conversation, whatever needs to happen of, so what I understand, there's big changes about to happen with, the patient, Charles. So tell me about how everybody's how are you doing with that? I know there's big changes. How are you working together as a family to get through this? So really, whatever the goal is, it might be to get the family on the same page. It might, sometimes the patient needs to tell them something and it's just not being heard. So actually putting it, I've written songs with patients that are saying, I feel guilty because I'm going to be gone, but I need you to know that you're going to be okay and I'm going to be okay. Music is the key to unlock the conversations, because I think it really opens people's hearts and where they're in a more open sharing space.